The storm howled like a banshee, whipping rain against the windshield as I swerved to avoid a fallen branch. My headlights cut through the oppressive darkness, illuminating the desolate highway for fleeting moments. A wrong turn, a sputtering engine. It all seemed to happen in slow motion. By the time the car finally sputtered to a stop, the storm had reached its crescendo, rain drumming a relentless tattoo on the roof. Frustration gnawed at me. My phone was useless, no signal reaching this forsaken stretch of road. I hunched deeper into my coat, peering out at the inky blackness. Then a flicker of light caught my eye, a faint yellow glow against the downpour, a beacon in the storm's fury. Relief flooded me, a possible sign of civilization. Following the meager light, I stumbled upon a deserted town. Hollow Creek, the faded letters on the lone gas station sign proclaimed. The silence was suffocating, broken only by the relentless rain. Every boarded-up window, every crumbling building seemed to hold its breath, waiting. A morbid curiosity clawed at me. What had happened to this place? Driven by an urge I couldn't explain, I pushed against a creaking door entering a dusty general store. Cobwebs draped from the rafters, sunlight filtering through cracks in the roof casting long skeletal shadows. On a counter, a yellowed newspaper lay open, the headline screaming, "Local family vanishes under mysterious circumstances." The date, 1947. My blood ran cold. What had become of the missing family? Suddenly, a flicker of movement in the fading light. A scrap of cloth fluttered in an abandoned house across the street. Curiosity gnawed at me, stronger than the fear that gnawed at the edges of my mind. Ignoring the warnings screaming in my head, I crossed the rain-slicked street. Inside the house, dust motes swirled in the beam of my flashlight, revealing a calendar frozen in time. The year, again, 1947. Then, as if on cue, a sound drifted through the air. A haunting violin, the melody mournful and slow. It seemed to come from the abandoned church at the town's center. A morbid fascination propelled me forward. The storm had calmed, the moon peeking through the clouds to bathe the church in an eerie silver light. The heavy wooden door groaned open with a protest, revealing a scene both horrific and mesmerizing. In the center of the room, bathed in the moonlight filtering through stained glass windows, figures swayed. But these weren't living people. Their skin was a sickly green, stretched taut over hollow bones, their eyes hollow pits. Yet they danced, a macabre waltz, their movements jerky and unnatural. Terror choked the scream that rose in my throat. A chorus of whispers filled the air, chilling and hollow. They were talking to me, those vacant eyes locked on mine. "Join us, dance with the dead." My legs felt like lead, but instinct propelled me back through the doors. I slammed them shut, the sound a feeble shield against the growing frenzy on the other side. Panicked breaths escaped my lungs as I stumbled back through the town. Every creak of a floorboard, every rustle of leaves in the wind sent shivers down my spine. Reaching my car, I slammed into the driver's seat, fumbling with the keys. The engine coughed to life, a glorious sound that almost brought tears to my eyes. I didn't care about the rain, the wind, or the desolate highway stretching into the distance. All I wanted was to get away, as far as possible from Hollow Creek. I glanced back in the rearview mirror. The church windows were dark, but a single figure stood in the entrance, a skeletal hand reaching out in a silent plea. Or was it a warning? The memory of that scene haunted me for weeks. The image of those dancing figures, the chilling whispers replaying in my nightmares. I scoured the internet, desperate to find any information about Hollow Creek, the missing family, the strange ritual. But everything came up empty. It was as if the town had vanished from the face of the earth, leaving only a chilling echo. One night, after a particularly vivid nightmare, I noticed an old leather-bound book tucked away in the attic. It belonged to my grandfather, a man who dabbled in the occult and folklore. Curiosity gnawed at me. Could this hold the answers I desperately craved? The book spoke of a forgotten ritual, a way to commune with the dead, a desperate plea for forgotten souls. It spoke, too, of the consequences, the risk of those beckoned back from the veil becoming tethered to this world, forever trapped in a horrifying mockery of life. A cold sweat slicked my skin. Had the townspeople of Hollow Creek stumbled upon this ritual? Had their desperation to contact a lost loved one led them down a path of darkness, transforming them into the grotesque figures I witnessed? The book offered no solutions, only warnings about the dangers of tampering with the boundaries between life and death. Driven by a morbid mix of fear and morbid curiosity, I decided to return to Hollow Creek. Armed with the knowledge from the book, I hoped to understand what happened there, maybe even find a way to free the trapped souls. The journey back was long and arduous, the desolate highway seeming to stretch on forever. As I approached Hollow Creek, a sense of dread settled over me. The town looked exactly as I remembered it, deserted, decaying, and eerily silent. It wasn't until I stepped out of the car that I noticed something different. A single flickering light emanated from the church. Against my better judgment, I crept closer. The heavy wooden door was ajar, the mournful violin melody spilling out along with the faint glow. Taking a deep breath, I pushed the door open. The scene inside had changed. The figures were no longer dancing. Instead, they huddled together in the center of the room, their hollow faces turned towards a single figure cloaked in darkness. The cloaked figure turned, revealing a face that sent chills down my spine. It was the skeletal figure I saw in the window, but this time, its eyes burned with an unnatural light. As our eyes met, the whispers intensified, a cacophony of grief and despair. The cloaked figure spoke, its voice a raspy rasp that echoed in the cavernous church. "We are trapped," it croaked, "bound to this place by a broken promise, by a ritual gone wrong. Help us find peace." Suddenly I understood. The townspeople weren't dancing with the dead, they were trapped with them, bound by the failed ritual. And the figure before me, was it the patriarch of the missing family? Forever tethered to the town, he desperately tried to save a loved one from leaving. Panic clawed at me. The book mentioned nothing of undoing the ritual, only the dangers of attempting it. But the despair in the hollow eyes, the desperation in the whispers, I couldn't just leave them. I spent the next few days poring over my grandfather's book, searching for a loophole, a hidden passage offering a sliver of hope. Finally, in the margins, barely legible, I found it, a counter-ritual, a way to sever the tether between the living and the dead, but with a chilling caveat. It required a sacrifice I wasn't sure I was willing to make. The whispers intensified, growing louder, more frantic as time passed. The trapped souls were growing desperate, their hold on this world weakening. The night of the counter-ritual arrived, the air thick with anticipation. I gathered the ingredients herbs from the abandoned general store, salt from the cracked pavement, and a personal item from each of the trapped figures. A faded locket, a worn teddy bear, a child's doll. The ritual was complex, the chanting difficult to pronounce. With every syllable, the air crackled with energy. The cloaked figure and the others watched me, their hollow eyes filled with a flicker of hope. As I reached the final steps, a blinding light erupted from the center of the room. The screams that echoed off the walls were unlike anything I had ever heard, a mixture of pain and release. When the light subsided, the air felt lighter, the whispers silent. But there was a price. The cloaked figure had vanished, as had the personal items. In their place lay a single object, a tarnished silver locket, engraved with the initials EM. It was the same locket I had found in the possession of the skeletal figure. I knew then that the sacrifice demanded by the counter-ritual was a piece of myself, a piece that would forever bind me to this place, a constant reminder of the horrifying secret it held. I left Hollow Creek with the weight of that secret pressing down on me. The town remains deserted, a monument to a tragic mistake. The whispers are gone, replaced by a heavy silence. But sometimes, on quiet nights, I swear I can still hear the faint strains of a mournful violin, a chilling echo of the night I danced with the dead. Years passed, and the memory of Hollow Creek remained a festering wound in my mind. The silver locket became a constant companion, a cold reminder of the sacrifice I made. But the peace I brought to the trapped souls came at a terrifying cost. One night, as I sat alone in my apartment, the locket grew uncomfortably hot against my skin. A strange unease settled over me, a prickling sensation at the back of my neck. Then the whispers started. They were faint at first, barely audible whispers in the dead of night, but they grew stronger with each passing minute. The same chilling chorus, "Join us! Dance with the dead!" My heart hammered against my ribs. It couldn't be. I ripped open the locket, expecting to find it empty. Instead, a single figure stared back, a skeletal hand reaching out, the eyes burning with the same unnatural light I remembered from the cloaked figure. The whispers intensified, filling the room, a cacophony of grief and longing. Panic surged through me. Had I failed? Was the boundary between worlds permanently weakened, allowing the trapped souls back? A desperate plan formed in my mind. The book, my grandfather's book. Maybe there was another solution, another ritual hidden within its pages. I raced to the attic, rummaging through dusty boxes until I found the weathered leather-bound volume. The whispers grew louder, more desperate, threatening to drown out everything else. With trembling hands, I flipped through the pages, searching frantically. Then, tucked away in a hidden compartment, I found it, a section labeled The Shepherd's Call. It was a complex ritual designed to permanently sever the connection between realms, to guide lost souls to their final rest. But this ritual required more than herbs and chants. It required a medium, a bridge between the living world and the spirit realm. A bridge that, according to the final sentence, had to be a willing sacrifice. Desperate and terrified, I understood what I had to do. Holding the locket tight, I began the chanting. The whispers became screams, echoing through the apartment. The air crackled with an unseen energy as the room grew cold, the shadows writhing around me. The final act of the ritual required the sacrifice to touch the symbol drawn on the floor. With a heavy heart, I placed the locket on the center and held out my hand. The whispers reached a crescendo, a chilling symphony of despair. Then, silence. I opened my eyes, a wave of exhaustion washing over me. The room was empty, devoid of any presence other than myself. The locket in my hand remained warm, but the image was gone. Had it worked? Exhausted but strangely relieved, I collapsed onto the floor. Sleep came quickly, a deep, dreamless sleep. When I woke, the sun was streaming through the window, casting light on the silver locket. It was cold again, the image within faded. A flicker of hope sparked within me. Perhaps, just perhaps, I had truly laid the souls of Hollow Creek to rest. But the memory of the whispers, the chilling touch of their desperation, would forever be etched in my mind. As for the locket, I keep it close, a reminder of the night I danced with the dead and the price I paid for their release. A price I hope will never have to be repeated. But a nagging doubt remains. Did I truly free them, or did I simply send them further down a path of eternal despair? The question hangs heavy in the air, a constant reminder of the darkness that hides just beyond the veil, and the terrifying consequences of tampering with the boundaries of life and death.